And we're live. Finally, kicks off the gear, guys. We've made it. It's going to be the final, of course, podcast of the week due to the holiday season. Christmas coming up on Saturday, Christmas Eve, and Friday night. So, if you're listening prior to or even after, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and of course, if you're listening after, hopefully your holiday season went well, and a Happy New Year to everybody as we almost kick off 2022. Nonetheless, before we get to our guest today, always listen and appreciate the support. Listen to all major podcast platform and follow on the Twitter. Air Raid _ podcast is the show. And On Air with Mike is my personal one. I will talk. If I'm not talking, it's because I'm working. But nonetheless, great conversation. More importantly, Casey from Sluggo Podcast is joining me. Clemson fan. We're going to be talking Clemson. Of course, Brent Venables, the now former defensive coordinator of the Clemson Tigers. Not rubbing that in, Casey. We'll be joining. We'll be talking that. Of course, Brent Venables, the new head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners. And of course, we got to talk Lincoln Riley and kind of get someone else's perspective on what transpired just a few weeks ago. But Casey, more importantly, thank you for coming on, and I'm looking forward to having you.
Yeah, Mike, man, I appreciate the invite for this. I know you put kind of all call out there, and I was like, you know what? I'll talk college football with you. I'll talk college football with just about anybody, but I really do appreciate you actually responding and saying, yeah, come on. We usually do Wednesday nights, but we didn't have a show tonight, so this works out perfect. So thanks so much.
Hey, my pleasure, and I always tell everybody, and I know of a few people that from the past has been on multiple times. Hey, just shoot me something, whether it's a text or a DM. Heck, it can be a tweet. I don't really care. Hey, I love to have you on. Of course, talk college football. Of course, the holiday season arrived, and I know everybody's busy, so I definitely appreciate your time coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, I have Wednesday night free tonight. My kid's asleep. It's better than talking to the wall. My wife's cleaning, so it's like, I don't have my guy Marty to talk to, so let's talk to the Air Raid Mike.
Hey, let's do this thing. First things first, Casey, tell the listeners out there a little about yourself. Obviously, nothing too personal. That's going to get you some stalkers out there. But more importantly, because we know how that is nowadays. More importantly, your podcast and a little about your little sports fanatic.
Sure. I'm a Clemson guy through and through. Went to school there way back when, and kind of have two podcasts really, but one that's more mainstream than the other. The other's kind of not safe for work, but the main one is Sluggo. It's Sluggo Podcast. My partner and I, Marty Coleman, Seldom Used Reserve, who is pretty known in the Clemson community for putting out a lot of really cool videos, highlights, and things. He and I just talk. We do focus a little bit on Clemson early, but we try to make it broad as well, because you can't trip and hit without hitting a Clemson podcast, especially in the last 10 years or so since podcasts going. But yeah, I'm just living and working down here in South Carolina, just talking college football when I'm not trying to make a dollar for my kids.
Excuse me. I completely understand that, and I try to keep it. I always tell people there's one guy that listens to this thing religiously, and he'll probably be texting me probably sometime next week. Hey, listen to your podcast X, Y, and Z, and give me some pointers and all that. He's probably the only guy I will probably talk politics with, but unfortunately, with everything that's going on out there, it's the best way also to get fired. So, especially if you're on my side, of which I know a lot of people are, but anyway, nonetheless, that's a whole different topic for a whole other day. First things first, your thoughts, of course. Wesley Goodwin, now the new defensive coordinator, miraculously kind of stuck around. From what I read, he had some offers out there with other, teams, NFL teams for that matter, and kind of stuck around. I guess it's meant to happen for him as a defensive coordinator. But coming from a Clemson fan, of course, just from your perspective, were you surprised any that once Lincoln Riley bolted for Southern Cal, Oklahoma immediately, hey, here's a list. Now, we obviously don't know behind the scenes with Joe Castiglione. We don't know what his list looked like. It could have been just strictly Brent Venables. We won't know. were you surprised Brent was a guy, and you're from a Clemson fan, and from your guys' standpoint, what was it like once Brent Venables left from from Clemson and flew over here to Norman?
I think my perspective is going to be a lot different than some Clemson folks. I think as soon as Lincoln Riley bolted for the West Coast, you had to go Brent Venables. I know Castiglione and he have a relationship from all the way back, like more personal than even just working together. The wives are friends, yada yada. He got it. As soon as his name came up, it was like, that's done. And here's why. I think Dabo has always been wanting to get his guys really good jobs. Always. He's always been really supportive. Brent has been nothing but loyal to Dabo. And he's been on record multiple times saying, like, the perfect job isn't really out there. He was reportedly very close to taking the Auburn job a year ago. But he just didn't like the back end stuff, the education stuff, the president stuff, the things there, like the whole infrastructure. He wasn't really a fan of. Now Norman is home. I mean, all of his kids were born there. He's got 3 of them. All of them were born there. His wife still has roots there. The rumor was he built his in-laws a home on the lake in Clemson, but that can be sold, especially in the market the way it is. So I think from my perspective, it was a done deal, even when you guys were doing all those spaces on Twitter that were going all night long, and some dude with his smoker stalking Lincoln Riley's wife and all this crazy stuff that you guys were doing. I thought he was as good as gone. And I don't like Lincoln Riley because of it, but I'm such a Brent Venables fan. He's one of the worst games and best games I've ever been to was when the 70-33 loss to West Virginia. Was the worst game because I sat there through it the entire thing in Miami, and the best because the day, it felt like the day later, Brent Venables was coming to be our defensive coordinator, and then the rise of the program. Yeah, I wish him well, man. I told you before we went on, I'm a big OU fan now. I want him to do nothing but succeed, and quite honestly, if he doesn't, then there's going to be always room for him at Clemson. I don't mean to keep going on. My partner's probably laughing listening to talk, but as far as Wesley Goodwin, as soon as this all happened, and then Elliott Tony Elliott was going to go to Virginia, Dabo was out in Vegas watching Hunter Renfro play and CJ Spiller going into the Hall of Fame. So Clemson fans were scared. Like, Dabo say something. But I think, knowing the guy a little bit, he had it all in place already. And Wesley Goodwin said that Sunday he got a phone call and said that he was going to be the guy. So start getting ready and accept your $690,000 raise that he got. Don't know much about him. Just hearing from what other people, Bruce Arians being a big supporter of him. I think the way, and then he talked and he was nervous in front of the media, which is cool because he's like us. But the fact that he was a big proponent, I won't say he was all Brent's brains, because he certainly wasn't, but he was a big proponent for Venables, Ellis Johnson, Bruce Arians, some names on the defensive side. It gets you a little bit excited. But can he recruit like Brent?
And that's the interesting thing. And I think a lot of people, we fail, including myself at times, we always want first off, go into your spaces. I swear to God, I think us OU fans probably ruled Twitter world for the last probably week and a half or so. And the best part is we had so many people on there just saying stuff, whether it was true or not. It's like, this is awesome. My lunch break hour is full of just people listening. This is great. It
was fun. Some of those guys didn't have jobs, fun. Mike. You know that.
But that was that was fun nonetheless. But no, going back to that, can he recruit? Obviously, we don't know, and that's the thing. I know, and with you being a Clemson fan, and I told my dad this, and and to this day, I'm still going to say it. Dabo proved me wrong, because I know when Coach Bowden got fired, and here comes Dabo, really an unknown guy. I've never heard of him. I'm like, probably not the route I would have went. I think was he special teams or something?
Receivers coach.
There we go, receivers coach. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But
I'm seeing those comments too. I don't know what the hell they're.
I don't know what this is. But anyway, apparently it might be my stalker. You never know. But anyway, going back to Dabo, he proved me wrong. He completely. Well, I think he proved a lot of people wrong. Um, but anyway, nonetheless, I like Dabo. I like what he's about. I like just he cared about the guys, and I think that's why I respect him, even though he's. I wish we could beat him once. But maybe soon. You never know. But nah, we'll see what he can do. Recruiting, of course. Brent can recruit.
Oh yeah.
I haven't heard many guys. I know I've heard of one that's now a mid-year enrollee that flipped from Clemson to Oklahoma. What's it been like with Clemson? Has it kind of like unfortunate with Oklahoma once Lincoln got escorted to USC on his own little way? Has Clemson lost many recruits since Brent left, or how's that recruiting process looking like since Brent took over Oklahoma?
Yeah, so they lost 4 guys on the defensive side of the ball. All three from IMG Academy in Florida that were 2 defensive backs and a defensive end. One ended up at Alabama, the other at Georgia, the other at Michigan. And then the Jaron Kanak from Kansas, he's a Brent guy. He was a Brent recruit. I mean, the rumor is he's enrolled, but he still has Clemson football commit on his Twitter profile. So I think from people that I talked to within the Clemson program, he was all but gone that day and kind of did Clemson a favor by not publicly decommitting to get any bad press on signing day. So the class is fine as far as quality. The quantity is what Clemson folks are kind of concerned about because there's only 13 that they got in the early signing day, and they left holes. So now with Kanak going to Oklahoma, presumably they need a linebacker. And Dabo is very, very strategic, almost to a lot of Clemson fans' detriment because he only offers guys that are needed. So if he only has 30 spots, only 30 guys are getting offered until that guy decommits or goes somewhere else. So the numbers, they're like 3rd or 4th at an average recruit, but I think they ended up like 29th because they have 13 recruits right now. But there's a few others out there. I think there's a kid right in your backyard, actually, a linebacker that I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but actually it's Texas, but he's getting a look and supposedly he's interested. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in February. Yeah, but as far as the Brent thing, yeah, he's such an over-the-top great recruiter. Kids want to play for him. I mean, look at that defense. It's just constantly attacking from all over. So if you're a DB, a linebacker, an end, you can drop into coverage sometimes. And those guys want to get a fat man touchdown, As a fellow fat man, I want to get a fat man touchdown.
Yep. Yes, sir.
So, yeah, it's a huge loss. But, you lose recruits, you lose recruits. Yep. Are they good? Well, we think so, but do we really know that at the end of the day? I don't know. I mean, Alabama just got richer, Georgia just got richer, and Michigan's going to start recruiting again because they're winning.
And that's an interesting point, and it's one of those things that, Alabama's, as we always say, Alabama's going to be Alabama. They're going to do what Alabama does, and that's win, regardless of how much we all don't like them or what have you. And I know a question comes in from Wong Lam. Of course, it kind of brings up to where that kind of leads that to, in a way. One of them was, do you think that NIL will hurt or hurt/help, of course, recruits moving younger players? Do you think the NIL will hurt or help the youth sports? And then also kind of adding to that in the way is, what's your take on the NIL? I like the idea, but at the same time, I don't. I'm kind of in between. I get the concept of it, but at the same time, you still got the argument that a lot of people are going to say is, hey, they're getting free education. They're getting this. They're getting that. They're whatever the case may be. Is the NIL going to be what we would consider probably the the end all be all of college football to where it's going to hurt because the transfer portal, which I don't know, I miss the original rule where you transfer, you got to sit out a year. Now practically you can transfer any given God's forsaken time and you can still play. Spencer Rattler to South Carolina. You can still play. You can still play, and not be penalized for it.
Yeah, NIL. I think Dabo said it the other day, and I'm not like I'm a huge Clemson fan, and I love my coach, but at the end of the day, I'm not. I can call him out when he says something stupid. But the other day, he was talking about NIL, and I thought he brought up a great point: is that there's no cap, and I'm not talking salary cap, but there's no real rules to it.
Exactly.
So a kid like Quinn Ewers, of all things, goes up and reportedly gets $1 million to go to Ohio State, plays 4 snaps on the year, transfers out, kind of melding the transfer portal into this mess, goes to Texas and reportedly has a $4 million NIL deal. The kid is 17, 18 years old. He's got $5 million in his pocket.
Yep.
It just there's no cap. Bryce Young has $1 million deal. No one really knows doing what, but I think that there needs to be a governing body, and no, I'm not talking about the NCAA, but something to at least kind of control this, because right now it's out of control. And I think with anything, once it starts rolling, it's going to get out of control. And I have no problem with the kid making money. I have no problem.
Oh, no, exactly.
Think about back in the day, you had a Bosworth jersey, but it didn't say Bosworth, or it maybe even did say Bosworth on the back. Well, he wasn't getting a dime for that. Now, he may have been getting it under the table somewhere, but he wasn't making money on what other entities were making money on. So I don't know how I feel about the NIL yet.
I may still let it play out going into 22, preferably the season, not the physical year. But like I said, I'm kind of in between. I like it because the kids, I have nothing wrong with people making money, especially now. But at the same time, it's like, you're kind of in between. I'll let it play out in 22. Of course, the transfer portal is a lot of Michigan State. It's their, they use it to a T.
Bama just got Jamar Gibbs.
Really?
Yeah, he's going to be like the 5th string running back, and he was probably the top 2-3 running back in the ACC. It's like, you're going to go there and share carries with somebody? But he's probably getting money,
Well, and that's the thing, and that's kind of where you kind of put it in, and of course, anybody that's listening to the live stream, if you have any, feel free to comment. For the exception of this question, I'm not even going to answer it. Anything sports related, let's put it that way, guys. College football, preferably. But speaking of money, and I talked with Jamie about it, and other college football fans that's been on since I think it was August, September when it broke news. Oklahoma and Texas go into the SEC. I'm ecstatic just because it's something different, but at the same time, you lose your original traditions. OU obviously lost Nebraska's older rivalry. Well, really, they lost it when the Big 12, the Big 12. But, of course, Nebraska goes to the Big 10, hasn't really done anything since, if anything. Missouri's failed in the SEC. Texas A&M thinks they're a god, but they mediocre at best in the SEC. And Colorado, whatever in the Pac-12. What's your thoughts on one? I guess for first question I'll ask is this the end? Do you think that this is the end of the expansion once Oklahoma gets to Texas, or are we still going to see more? Because I read some article, whether it was true or not, that Clemson, Ohio State, Michigan, Florida State, supposedly the SEC would love to have it. Are we going to be done with this once from 2023, 2022, whatever we want to call it, to 25, whenever that time span is for Oklahoma, Texas to go to the SEC? Are we done? Are we still going to add more teams here?
Well, I think it felt like as soon as Oklahoma and Texas announced that they were going and those rumors came out, that everyone started scrambling, and mostly fan bases. Excuse me. I don't know if you know this about the alliance, though. That's going to rule college football. Said no one ever. The Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC coming together and forming this alliance.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why. I think it's just word salad, to be honest. I don't know what it means at all. I think it depends. It was amazing that it didn't move. There wasn't way more Power Five conference moves in retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
I know from a Clemson perspective, beat writers were constantly saying like Dabo knows what he's doing and he's going to be very deliberate here. I'm not sure. We heard rumors that Clemson, Florida State, which apparently are a package deal, maybe even North Carolina, were going to go somewhere, maybe the SEC even or something when that whole thing started. And it was a huge wait. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, especially if Oklahoma and Texas go into the SEC and get their doors blown off, which I don't think Oklahoma will, but I think Texas probably will. Especially with all the politics that they got going on down in Austin behind the scenes. I don't know if people want to go to the SEC. And, Clemson gets it from our little brother in the Midlands of South Carolina all the time. Like, we wouldn't be undefeated in the SEC and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, you know what? You're probably right. But I don't really do hypotheticals. And
right,
we won 2 natties with being in the ACC. So let's just stay home. That's my long-winded opinion. Let's just stay home here in the ACC and see what happens. Who knows, man? It's such a retaliatory sport,
I'm not gonna lie. I love the fact that it all started from supposedly it was a rumor from Texas A&M. Now I don't know if it's one of those things to maybe somebody went to College Station and was like, "Hey, whoever that they got to talk to about it, I'm hearing up in Austin about X, Y, and Z." Now I don't know if that was true or not. It's just funny. All of a sudden, A&M breaks the news. Texas is going to the SEC. Then all hell breaks loose. Here comes ESPN. Here comes Bleacher Report. Here comes Fox Sports. Everybody's all talking about it. Now it's Texas and Oklahoma. Well, OU, of course, everybody has to say, well, we don't know what's going on. Whatever. But whatever. If you want to play that, that's perfectly fine. But nonetheless, it's funny because it's all of a sudden, then not even a week later, and a lot of these in the past, it's always been a year, 2 years it took. Week later, they approve it, and then no later than 25 will be Oklahoma, Texas. It's odd that it was a quick. I guess we can thank Texas A&M for it. I guess I don't really know.
They voted for it. What do you think of that? What do you think?
Well, I was shocked.
That was the rumor that they weren't.
Yeah, because A&M. The rumor, like you said, the rumor was A&M was one. Supposedly Arkansas was the other. I think Missouri. It was actually going to be in their favor. Now I don't know. All of a sudden, people are like, oh, more money, yay! Or they just love the idea of like, hey, it's something different. Oklahoma, yeah, Texas. I mean, whatever. But it's interesting. It's interesting. I'm kind of curious, especially as much as I hate Texas. I'm really curious how this is going to work out for them because they got steamrolled this year by Arkansas and Fayetteville. Lost to Kansas, even though OU should have lost 2. But oh my God.
For 3 quarters.
Oh my God.
2.5 quarters. It looked like it was going to happen. I was laughing, Mike. I'll be honest, but I had no dog in the hunt. Brent won't lose to Kansas.
Well, no, he's definitely not going to allow that one. And of course, now we kind of know why. But Caleb Williams showed back up. Now he's probably thinking on the sideline, I'm not going to lose to Kansas, regardless of what happens here. But no, I'm curious with Texas because in the program of Texas, and I'm not knocking it because it's Oklahoma and Texas. I'm really not. But this Texas program, Casey, is just – they're not as bad as Nebraska, and I'm not taking no shots towards Nebraska. They're almost borderline getting to that point if they really don't fix whatever issue that is in Austin.
Yeah, it feels like Sark is handcuffed, though. I mean, all this stuff coming out. Heck, Saban told him not to go, and I don't think he's ever told a coach not to go somewhere. But that came out that he said, you gotta weigh all your pros and cons here, and you may come up with more cons. But just being hamstrung with who to play, the rumors, the articles, the reported articles that are saying that some big time boosters are making sure they know who's playing, and it may be race related. It's a mess, man, and I don't know if I think it probably started before Charlie Strong, but
I'm sure, absolutely.
they definitely didn't like him down there either. But that was almost immediate. Red McCombs came out and said he makes a really good coordinator somewhere. It was just it's for such a quote unquote blue blood to have so many issues, and people just keep throwing money at it. It seems from an outsider perspective, and it's just not getting better. So I'm interested to see what Ewers can do and what they surround him with, because Sark can recruit too now. So he keeps a bunch of those Texas boys home, and you never know if he's allowed to coach. I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I know they lose Casey Thompson, the quarterback. He showed some flash. I mean, obviously, I think what is he, a freshman? I think is what he was. He's going to do freshman things. I mean, he showed some flash. I thought that was a little shocker that he left. So I don't know if something's going on. I know they love that one kid that's been in most of the season. But Texas, though, I mean, realistically, and I know people are like, "Oh, you're just saying because you're an OU fan." No, I'm really just saying for the sake of college football, is Texas is really in a bad shape. I think more than what we realize it on paper, because and you brought it up, he's very well could be handcuffed, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was. I knew that Charlie Strong thing probably wasn't going to go well. Unfortunately, let's be honest, I'm sure it was a race issue. I don't have proof of it, but
we've heard it a couple times.
It wasn't a pretty sight from day one. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at it. Tom Herman. The best thing that Tom Herman did in Texas was flipping off the camera while he was sitting in his office.
I think that was going to work out too, though. I mean, he was the hottest name.
I did too. Yeah.
And then Sark, offensive mind on that Alabama team. I mean, I thought he was going to be all right too. He had after his reclamation project at Alabama.
It's going to be interesting. I don't know who they play next year. I'm sure I can Google it real quick. I don't know who they play. I know that right now, well, they should have OU beat. They had that game really won in the pocket. But okay, so we got non-conference schedule: Louisiana Monroe, Alabama, and Texas San Antonio. And of course, in your conference games. I'm just gonna say this, my only knock, and I'll leave it at the end. I'll let you obviously give your take. Alabama's gonna steamroll Texas. Let's just be honest. I don't know what they're gonna bring back. I know Bryce Young will be back, and I don't know what their offense looks like. I'm sure it probably doesn't matter. Alabama just reloads and makes a run and gun, but Texas, I think, is going to get an eye opening. Maybe the SEC probably was not the best option, even though it's more money. I get that, but Arkansas showed them first. I think Alabama's about to show them again.
They have Bryce Young back, Heisman Trophy winner. I believe they get Jamison Williams back, who's probably arguably the best receiver in the country that couldn't get on the field at Ohio State. They have, I believe, Brian Robinson, the running back. They're going to load up on the offensive line. That defense isn't going to get worse. I think your assessment is spot on.
But we'll see. Speaking of programs, and I'm going to talk about this one, Nebraska. Scott Frost comes back for 22. I think that's perfectly fine. I made an adjustment a few weeks ago on Colorcast. That maybe Nebraska wasn't that 3-9 team. Maybe they were one of the best teams in the Big Ten. All 9 losses were literally by a touchdown or less. If Scott Frost can't get this program over that hump, and I mean the hump of hell at this point 6 wins. I don't know what the hump is for Nebraska. If they can't get to somewhere where it's proven that he's making a difference, is there any coach, in your opinion? And I thought of who did I thought of? It's going to come to me here in a second. As their new head coach, it's coming to me because he's from Lincoln. But anyway, who would be a right fit for Nebraska? Because this program, just like Texas, probably a little worse, is This program hasn't done anything since they left for the Big 12.
Yeah, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I'm not that close to it, but I knew Frost because I lived in Florida, and so I was right around the time where he was at UCF and setting records and playing that fun and gun offense and doing a great thing. But he's a Nebraska guy, and if he's their main guy, and I think obviously they showed him an extension, so they're showing a little bit more patience. And I think you're right. We have a joke on one of my shows about the best 4-loss team in the country. I don't think it's arguable that Nebraska was the best 9-loss team in the country. Yep. That they were in every game, game, and most of the games they did something to shoot themselves in the foot to lose it. Who do I think of off the top of my head that could come in there if Scott Frost isn't the guy? I had one. Do you go Fickle? Does Fickle go
Maybe
there?
That's who I was thinking of. There's one guy. I'll have to listen to the episode with Clyde. I think
Brom.
It might have been on that episode. It was a recent one.
And I listened to that episode too, Mike, and I forget what you said.
Yeah, that was too long of an episode. I'm trying to figure out because the episode was Jamie, and that definitely wasn't that. It was Clyde's. It had to have been Clyde's. But the question is, who was it? Because there was somebody that said, well, look at this. This is picture perfect. Because this person's from Lincoln.
Was it Fleck?
Oh, I wonder if it was. I'm not going to take too much time, but I'll figure it out. I'll let you know. Because I was like, well, I could see this because now this person's from Lincoln. Oh, this is going to bug me all night long. Clyde, if you're watching on the live stream.
It's not Fleck.
I wonder who it was. College. Screw it.
It's not Fickle. All right. So, I just don't know who takes that job. I don't know if it's as glamorous as it was back in the late 80s or when Tom Osborne was there, and even Bo Pelini did some good things there for a little bit. I know I'll probably get killed by Abby and Meg and and Jamie and all the Nebraskaites that listen, but I don't know. I don't know what. Is Tim Crouch available? Is he available that he can come back? And I'm just trying to think of Tommy Frazier. Is Tommy Frazier coaching football? Can you lure him out of selling insurance or whatever he's doing now?
Well, Tom Osborne, though. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I'll read. It's going to come to me.
He's a politician now, I think, though. So I don't know if he's going to leave his cush job of in an office, just making hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wonder who it was because it was a big time coach.
Well, does a Franklin go there?
Ooh,
from Penn State over to. Notice I'm not mentioning a certain coach in South Carolina either.
No, I'm glad you brought that up though. I'm sure you've heard the rumors. We'll change the subject. The listeners, I'll figure it out who it was. Probably after Christmas. You never know. Speaking of college rumors, but speaking of coaching rumors, does Dabo leave for Vegas for the Raiders? Because of course he happened, like you mentioned earlier in the show, he happened to be out in Las Vegas watching Renfro and CJ's, all of them out there. Does he actually leave? Maybe not this year, but let's say they have another. Whatever. Could you see him in the NFL as a head coach? Even though that, let's be honest, for the most part, college coaches in the NFL has failed. Urban Meyer, which we'll talk about here in a second. Do you see him leaving Clemson? As much as I know money talks, but he's getting some good change out of Clemson.
Yeah, he is getting good change. I don't think he leaves for. And again, I'm probably the wrong.
Right.
I'm not the normal Clemson fan when it comes to this because I think it's inevitable that he leaves at some point. I don't think it takes a certain ego to coach at the pro level, and I'm not sure Dabo has it. But I only know players who played for him. I don't know him personally, so
right.
I just don't think. I think he likes what he's built at Clemson meaning not necessarily at Clemson, but meaning he does this PAW journey, which prepares his student athletes for their future. He gets them internships in the summer. He, he makes sure that these kids graduate. He's got something like there's been 3 kids in 13 years that he's had that haven't graduated, which is pretty impressive. And I think there's some caveat to that, but where kids that transfer aren't part of that. Anyway, to answer your question short-windedly, I don't think he goes to the pros. And I think to add on to it, and I know you didn't ask this, but I don't think he's the next guy at Alabama either.
No.
I'm not saying he won't end up at Alabama, but I think like a Mike Price or somebody like that, or a Sark, not Mike Price anymore, but a Sark or Kirby or somebody gets that next job, loses 2 or 3 games, they're all up in arms, they fire him, and then maybe Dabo comes in, later on. I don't think he leaves for the pros. Jacksonville's talking about him now too, with Trevor Lawrence. I'd be surprised. Let's just put it that way. I would be very surprised if he left for the pros. Wouldn't be surprised if he left for Bama down the line.
I definitely could see him leaving. I think, like you said, would it be Alabama? Probably not. I just don't. It's tough to see a Dabo in that, but I've seen weirder things happen.
I don't think his personality fits with guys who are getting millions. His rah-rah style isn't really. I mean, Pete Carroll is kind of rah-rah, but think about who's the coach? God, why is this name losing me? For the Steelers, Mike Tomlin.
Oh, Mike Tomlin.
That dude's a statue on the sideline, and his players love him. So, Belichick, you can't even understand what he's saying, and his players love him. And
I don't think he understands what he's saying.
Yeah, you think Dabo running up and down the sideline, jumping up to give high fives and bouncing on chests and whatnot? Do you think that's going to play outside of Christian Wilkins of the Miami Dolphins? I don't think so. But I don't know. Who am I? I'm just talking to you on a Wednesday night.
Right. Before Christmas of all things.
Right.
But no, I don't see him. I think his demeanor just does not fit that Alabama. People are like, well, how do you know? Maybe it's politics. I don't know. Maybe so. Maybe you're correct. Who knows? You'll be surprised, I'm sure, at that too. But no, I mean, jokes aside, I just don't see him leaving Clemson, at least not right now, just for the simple fact that, okay, you had one quote-unquote bad year to the last 11 years standards. Of course. But
that's what I love.
I hope you guys beat Iowa State this week. That would be lovely. That'll make my Wednesday night going into the OU and Oregon game a little bit more better, just because I thought Iowa State was overrated, even though I had them being the second best team in the league. But no, I think Dabo's fine. I just don't. I don't see him in the pros, and even with Trevor with Jacksonville, going on to that, Jacksonville's a crap hole right now.
Yeah, will he get a call? Maybe.
I'm sure he would.
Travis Etienne's there as well. He got hurt in a preseason game, missed the whole year. So there's a couple. I think Shaq Lawson's down there too, defensive end. So there's a couple Clemson people, but that's the thing right now. You can't trip in the NFL without landing on a Clemson guy. So we've been pretty fortunate recently. But I don't know. I know I'm repeating myself, but I just don't see him in the pros. But money talks. You drop $16 million on him and send him to Florida. Maybe you do go, because Jacksonville's basically South Georgia. So it's still Southern.
And it's Florida. There's no state taxes. So you get,
Yep.
I don't know. Obviously he's a smart guy. I'm sure he'll
change my opinion. He's going to Jacksonville.
Right? No state tax. Deal. Let's go.
It is nice.
I wish we had no state taxes. But anyway, no. I just don't see him. Speaking of Jacksonville, Urban Meyer, what a joke that show was down there with him. I thought personally was a horrific hire to begin with. A lot of people, and I'm not going to say who, but he knows who he is. When the show was when the announcement was made that he was a hire, I said this is a joke. He pronounced it 2 or 3 Super Bowls. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe he will. You'll be surprised. One, why are college coaches just continuously failing? And at this one, it wasn't even because of poor coach. Well, kind of was, but it was more poor performance off the field than it was on, for the most part. But at the same time, he kicks the field. Supposedly, he kicks the kicker, Lambeau. He's yelling at his staff, claiming they're a bunch of losers. They suck at the job. Obviously, he's getting ladies to twerk on him and lap dances, and he's groping them. And I was never much of an Urban guy. I'm just gonna be honest. Not so much of what he did at Ohio State or Utah, Bowling Green, or Florida, but I just never was a huge fan of his. Are we now? Could we probably? Well, first off, your thoughts on Urban Meyer's little 13-game Disney Channel X-rated show, or one, your thoughts on that, and then two, is Urban that? Can we finally put Urban to rest that he's going to come back into coaching now?
Well, the one beautiful thing about coaches that get fired is you never really hear from them. I think only one that get fired because they're getting paid to sit at home and do nothing. Yep. Their contracts are guaranteed in college and in the pros. So, although Jacksonville claims they're not going to pay him, right? Anyway,
they got to throw that. Yeah, they got to throw that out there.
He was a joke. The fact that he signed Tebow to try to play tight end, the fact that he brought the strength and conditioning coach from Iowa who had like racist and all sort of misogynistic problems at Iowa, and you know he had no problem with that, which just basically showed you in a nutshell who Urban Meyer is. And I am not an Urban Meyer fan at all.
No,
Clemson beat him a couple times at Ohio State. The famous picture where he's eating pizza was after a 31-0 game. Loved that. Loved the fact that they beat the snot out of him. I hated the fact that Trevor was going to have his first coach be Urban Meyer. Now I'm kind of in the ilk of I don't know what pro coaches actually do outside of maybe Belichick. You got pro players, so you got to surround them with somebody that knows what they're doing. But like, look at Brady. Brady might as well be the coach of the Tampa Bay Bucks on offense anyway. Leftwich is going to get a job because he had Tom Brady.
Yep.
Anyway, I think he's just a farce. I hope he's done, but you never know. Some college team Nebraska would pick him up tomorrow if they fired Scott Frost, and maybe he's that guy. But he's going to end up on Fox Sports doing or whatever. Big Ten, Pac-12 pregame show, which is getting a lot of love this past season anyway.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to be on, and we're going to see his face. And even though he misses his family, he still somehow always seems to have a really high-stress job. So, I'm not a fan, Mike. I'm sorry.
I'm not either. I thought he was full of crap when he quote-unquote retired from Florida. I thought that was full of crap when he, so to speak, had to step down from Ohio State. I'm sure that was full of crap. And now I think the true Urban Meyer, I think, showed. I mean, call it what you want, but I think the real Urban Meyer, can you please stand up? And I think that's what we got.
Right front and center.
If not, I'm not going to say that might have been, but nowadays you just don't know because we live in 2021. Anything can happen. That or the girls got paid a lot of money to set him up, and that could very well have happened. But guess what? However, at the end of the day, he went through it.
Got to be smarter than that. It's your restaurant. You don't have a back room or something that you can – so that no cameras were around, or Derek Jeter famously wouldn't let people in his house with their cell phones. It's not that difficult. No one really even called him a jerk because of it. They just, no cameras at my house. I don't want pictures taken and getting around the social media. Nowadays, that stuff's getting out, man.
The second the thing's clipped, send to whatever social media platform you got, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snap, anything else that's out there. I'm sure I'm probably missing. But regardless, stand up or that's a real Urban Meyer. He got caught. He got caught pretty easily.
Yeah, and we were rough on him as a society, but could you imagine Mrs. Meyer? I wouldn't have wanted to go home for months if that was my wife. Like months. I might as well just said, just throw it on the front porch, hon. I'll come get it. it would have been Dunsky. My fingers in the girl's hind end. Like,
yeah. And and we're not making jokes or light of it, but it's at the same time it's simple. If you're Urban Meyer, what's I'm trying to ask what do you do with yourself? Oh crap. Going to the hotel. I'm sure now he's lonely at this point. I'm sure he's going to the hotel alone. Now he's waking up like, eventually I got to go back home. Eventually I got to go. And not only that, I don't know how many kids he has, and that's perfectly fine. But can you imagine his kids watching this? I know he has a daughter. Can you imagine his kids watching this? Oh my Jesus.
Yeah. That night, his wife even tweeted out like, "Oh, Urban stayed in Columbus for a night while I have the grandkids."
Yep.
Yeah.
Great way, Urban. Not only did you ruin any chance to come back into the NFL, but you definitely made a name for yourself. So we're gonna get to a few questions. I know I'm missing a lot of these. All of Twitter, because the ones on during the live stream I will not answer, and don't expect my good friend Casey will, and the other ones I just cannot understand. No disrespect, I just don't. What do you think about playing? This is from Wong Lim. What do you think about playing best out of 3 games in the playoffs? I'm referring to college football playoff. What's your thoughts on as a potential option? Would you be up for that?
No, I don't think so. It's weird for football, just because of the wear and tear on the bodies. Selfishly, yeah, I want more football, absolutely. And there's a sense of loss that comes over me about halftime of the national championship game, regardless of who's playing, because you just start thinking about the break that's coming. But best of 3, I think, is just too much. And there's a beauty about one game. Trying to figure it out. You play a game. There's like if Alabama and Georgia play again, in my opinion, it's going to be the same result.
Mm-hmm.
However, they're going to play it a little differently, right? I think both teams are probably going to play it a little bit differently, but I don't want to see it again. I mean, I'm going to watch it because it's another football game, but I'm hoping for Michigan or Cincinnati, even though I think Michigan has a better chance to win that game win those games, just to see something different. And here I am, a Clemson fan, right? We've been in 7 of 8 or 6 of 8 playoffs, and I'm spoiled rotten. But I don't think 3 games does it, because it's just going to kind of be overkill. And unfortunately, in college football, it is hard to beat a team twice, but I think the better team always seems to win. So I think I just don't think it'll end up being 3 games. And I think there's just too much wear and tear. And at the end of the day, they're student athletes, so they don't want to miss too much school, and allegedly.
Well, they are attending class. I just want you to know that.
In North Carolina, those classes are fun, though.
Oh, I'm sure that those are. I heard at Norman that Norman they're non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just like our playoff record is. But anyway, thanks a lot, Clemson and Alabama.
Sorry.
In Georgia. My thoughts on it, it'd be cool, like you said, from a football standpoint. Absolutely. Who doesn't want to give up, I mean, hell, I would love to see another Alabama, Georgia for 4 more weeks. But from a country, we all want to see that. Other than that, I probably personally wouldn't, just because, like you said, it's a 1-game ordeal. I completely agree. As much as I would love more football, especially, and people are like, well, he's going to the SEC. Forget that crap. That has nothing to do with that. If it's exactly who we think it is, like this year, for example, I don't think I could sit and watch Alabama and Georgia for 2 guaranteed games and hope for the best.
No. I mean, I don't. I've saw it once. It was great. If we see it again, maybe I just don't think it's going to be different. I don't think that Georgia kind of got exposed, and they're Georgia fans down here where I live right near the Savannah Hilton Head border in South Carolina. So there's a lot of Georgia fans here. They think they're just going to switch quarterbacks and miraculously win the game. Really, you played with Stetson Bennett the 19th, most of the season outside of the opener against Clemson. And won all those games. I don't know why just a flip of the switch and going to JT Daniels is going to change the outcome of the game. I just think Alabama has too much, even with Mechie hurt. I don't need to see that 4 times.
I really don't want to see it again.
Twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really don't want to see it again, but I'm afraid that we're going to. Yeah, I no disrespect, everyone. Neither of us can understand the language, but we appreciate your watching.
We've been getting spammed on here too on this stuff, so I don't know what the heck it is.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, moving on, moving on to them. From them, I know we talked about the transfer portal. To you, is a loss to a good team considered a moral victory?
No, unless you're Alabama, where losses don't matter. No, there's no moral victory, and that comes from definitely my fandom, Mike, because we have our rival in our state here is very big on moral victories, and we played Clemson close one year. They had 500 yards of offense and still lost by 21 points.
It's pretty impressive.
And Clemson won the national championship that year. So that's what all we hear, and especially being around SEC here in the Southeast, you got SEC fans everywhere, and they're all moral victory. Like, oh, it's a good loss for the conference. I'm not a conference guy whatsoever, and it's probably because of my hatred of the SEC and their fans, not their teams. I like their football, but no. To answer the question, no, there's no moral victories in college football because losses mean a lot. Like I said, unless you're Alabama.
Unless you're Alabama or Georgia, especially Alabama.
Much either, did they?
Yeah, that was and I'll answer that question real quick before I get to it. Yeah, that's another thing. I would love to see what the BC had we had the BCS rankings. I would have loved to see how far apart everybody was, because here we are again. And I understand that Oklahoma State lost. Okay, like we all thought they were going to win anyway. But you had Georgia. If Oregon, who lost, I'll get that in a second. That's another good topic. Yeah. Lost. Where am I at here? Moral victory? No, absolutely not. Oklahoma State, they consider moral victory. They beat us one in the last 10, 11 years. No, I don't like them. I think it's as much as if you're like now Nebraska might make they may love moral victories. I really don't know. I was listening to a space earlier. I don't know who was on it. But anyway, somebody made a mention that Nebraska's practically all moral victories with what they are nowadays. So maybe teams like that. I don't like them. A loss is a loss, and I don't like to lose, but unfortunately, it is what it is. Should 5-7 team? Oh, so okay. So this one's gonna be strictly an Oklahoma high school question. So Bixby High School, which is based out of the Tulsa metro area up in Tulsa. Bixby is a Class 6A. So in Oklahoma, it's Class A all the way to 6A. I know some, I think it's California, somebody has 7. I'm like, holy crap. But anyway, so Bixby has not lost a game in forever. That's like 49 straight wins they've had. This year, I kid you not, their average of defeat, they're averaging almost near 60 points a game. And their margin of victory is almost near 40-something points. This team was phenomenal. So I see where he's saying should a 5-7 team play Bixby High School? I say, you know what? I know I'm being kind of harsh on these questions. I say go for it. Give it 3-9 Nebraska team. Let's go over Texas. 5-7 Texas, I think is what they were. 5-7 Texas, go for it. 3-9 Nebraska. I want to see it. Let's go. Do you think that NIL? Oh, so going back to that, I know the playoff is a really touchy subject for a lot. I'm kind of getting we thought we had the BCS. Nobody liked the BCS. It was horrible. Probably rightfully so. Oklahoma bringing back an 03. Got cremated by Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. At the time, that was played up in Kansas City. Got cremated. They still made the national championship game, losing to LSU. Of course, that was year I think Auburn was undefeated, and then obviously did not play for the national championship. So we had, and then of course you got other BCS issues. Then we get the playoff issue. Last year, you probably could have expanded it. This year, a lot of people were like, well, they had it right. I don't think they still had it right this year. Yes, Oklahoma State lost. Okay, good. They're out. You know, they weren't really in, but they were out. Baylor, I don't know how they didn't jump up more. What's your thought? I mean, what's the obviously they need to expand. I don't know when that's if or when that's going to happen. Is there a even perfect solution at this point? Because obviously this year politics played and they played big time.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a perfect solution at all, and I've kind of been teeter-tottering on 4 is the right number, or because, and mostly because I don't know what the other number that's correct. Some people
Right.
say 6, and then if you say 6, it's all the Power 5 winners plus an at-large. Well, you're still going to have arguments.
Yeah.
So I don't really think there's a perfect scenario for the playoff. Yeah, this year, yeah, I could go on my soapbox here, Mike, about this one because it bothers the crap out of me, and I've been on record many times on our little podcast that says no 2-loss team should ever be in the playoff. It just shouldn't happen.
Nope.
But if a 2-loss team was going to be in it, what conference were they coming from? The SEC. I mean, and I think it's set up pretty well for that. After Alabama loses to Texas A&M, they only dropped to 3. Maybe they were 4, but they were still in that top 4. So it kind of left you kind of going, huh? And I was also saying, well, if Alabama lost that game, then they were out. But would they have been with all the chaos that happened that last week of the year? I don't know what the right number is. I don't know if, maybe you float a number. Maybe if you say, you know what, this year, it's kind of like the Heisman invitees. Like one year you have 3, the next year you have 5. Like maybe you float it. Maybe because if you go to 12, it's awesome for college football fans and watch all those games, right? Those matchups are great. But are they, the way that it's been recently with blowouts in the semifinals, it's like if you go to 12, you're going to have more blowouts. Maybe you float it and say, you know what, this year I think there's 6 worthy teams. We'll give the top 2 a bye, and we'll play the 3 versus 6 and 2 versus 3, whatever. I don't math. It's hard. And figure maybe the 1 year it is 12, and cap it at 12, but. I don't know. There's people, unfortunately, a lot smarter than me that hopefully will figure it out and make it better. But more football is always better. But it's just if I'm going to turn it off, and I don't turn off a lot of games, but if it's 62-0, I'm probably going to turn it off. See what's going on Dancing with the Stars or something, something more riveting.
Well, I like that. And I think, I don't know what the right number is. Obviously, these guys are probably a little more, maybe a little more intelligent. I'm sure.
I don't know.
I'm sure to a degree they probably are. Well, I got a piece of paper. Well, good for you. I'm happy. But this year, I just think a lot of politics was played in it. I mean, I just do. And people are like, well, Oklahoma. Yeah, I got to bring it up because I just think it was crappy. You had Oklahoma that sit around. Now, they probably weren't the 8th best ranked team in the country. They probably weren't the top 4, obviously. Now you got your whole conspiracy theorist people out here saying that the OSU game was set up by Lincoln Riley because he knew he was going for LSU. So, of course, his play calling sucked against Oklahoma State. Maybe that's true. I don't really know. But nonetheless, I don't know what the magic number is. I just don't. Last year, Cincinnati probably should have been in. Obviously, they weren't. Now, this year, they get their chance. Unfortunately, welcome to the playoff where you're going to play Alabama. But you never know. That might be a hell of a game. That might be a slaughterfest. I kind of lean towards a slaughterfest, but we'll find out. And I'm actually looking forward to that game. But if it is any of them, probably that one, just because I'm kind of would like to see, is it time we can finally start to put the group of 5 teams in here? Or, hey, group of 5, we appreciate your participation, but next year or the year's 5, we're not doing this again because this is kind of what we thought.
Unfortunately, that's probably what this is
for
the group of 5. If Cincinnati were to get blown out, they could probably put a death knell into the group of 5 ever getting back. But it's strength against strength. Cincinnati's defense DBs they got 2 of the top, probably arguably 5 DBs in the country. So going against those wide receivers, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know if they can hang with them running the football, but and see what Desmond Ritter shows up. If Desmond Ritter shows up and he's
Mm-hmm.
Alabama always this is the knock, right? That they say that they always have a little trouble with a mobile quarterback, and I would say Ritter's more of a pocket guy, but he can be elusive at times, and I hope it's a good game. I don't want to go into New Year's Eve all pissed off.
Well, you...
It's as two SEC teams. I might jump in the river over here. I don't know.
Well, see, I'm gonna have to listen to it because the new co-host will be starting soon once the first of the year arrives. She's in the SEC country. Well, not physical. I guess I don't know where she even lives, but she's an LSU fan in Nebraska. I don't know how that works, but that's cool. Either way, I have nothing against either of them. I think LSU is probably a better program. We'll get to LSU. I got a funny thing. I'm hoping you watched it. I'm sure you probably did. But I got to listen to it. Kara's going to come on, SEC person. I know OU's going to the SEC, but dang it, guys.
They're gonna make you drink the Kool-Aid quick, Mike. You're gonna turn into Texas A&M fan real quick. Not a Texas A&M fan, but how they turned when they went to the SEC.
Oh Jesus. Real quick, last question so far that I'm getting on Twitter. What are the odds? This is coming from. Oh, sorry guys, I'm blind as a bat. From the Dawn of BK. What are the odds that the Arkansas football team, which I thought was very impressive this year, wins the SEC West by 2025?
I think Sam Pittman's the right guy there, and talk about a rah-rah guy who his players love. And I know there's people out there that'll probably say everyone that plays for their coach loves their coach, and that's probably true for the majority. But Sam Pittman's got a great personality. He's recruiting well. He's getting good coaches around him, and he's getting decent athletes. There's some really good, pretty good football in Arkansas. Plus, he'll go down because of the SEC banner. He'll go down to Texas, Oklahoma, grab a couple of guys there.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, as long as Alabama's in the SEC West, they're always going to be at the top. Whether or not they, lose a game here and there, they may. But heck, the last time they lost to an SEC East team was 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Like they don't lose very often. So as much as people can say that the dynasty's like starting to crumble a little bit, and I don't know who's saying that because they'd be crazy. I just don't. I think you're always going to battle them. But Arkansas, they're tough, man. And if they keep playing this hard-nosed Sam Pittman style football and get a decent quarterback in there like they had this year, they can challenge. I mean, I'd love to. The SEC West is really pretty tough. The SEC East is a joke, but the SEC West is really pretty tough. So by 2025, yeah, I could see it happen. Challenging for it? Absolutely.
I'm with you. I think challenging for I think they could. Winning it, it's hard to say that because I'm trying. I probably should have responded probably a little. I should have instead of liking it. Unfortunately, I was at work, so I was trying to limit that. But I should have returned a comment like,
Guess it's just me. You get me. There he is.
And I'm live still. So, anyway, whatever. I don't get that.
It was just me. It was scary. All of a sudden, you were gone.
Yeah, because I was talking about, answering the question about Arkansas. Apparently, maybe somebody didn't like it, wanted to feel the need to report it. I really don't know. But no, that was weird because here I am talking. All of a sudden, this thing says something's gone wrong. I'm like, oh, man. And then, of course, now I was checking Twitter. Checking the live stream. It's completely dark, but it says live. And, of course, then you said, well, it's still live. I'm like, cool. But anyway, so we'll edit all that. I'm glad I didn't say anything horrific because apparently I might have still been live. I really don't know. But anyway, answer the question about Arkansas. I like the chances, but Bama's going to rule the West until further noticed. But again, assuming that we're not putting the portal, the OU Texas, not saying OU and Texas are going to win it anytime soon when they get into the conference. But anyway, I like the chances. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But percentage wise, or what's the chances? What would you say? 40% chance is decent for him.
I do. I would even probably go 50% chance.
I like that.
But oh crap! I had a question for you. Oh, I think it depends on where OU and Texas go. Mm-hmm. Which one goes to the West? Which one goes to the East? Is it going to be a roll of the dice? Because I mean, I'm not a geography major, nor a math major, but they're not. I think Oklahoma is a little further west than Austin, or maybe. So do they?
Yeah, because so Norman, because we've driven through Austin to go down to San Antonio, and by the way, that stadium. So literally, I don't realize where we are at. So literally, that stadium is off the highway. I think it's I-35,
35,
off of 60, whatever it is, whatever that I-35 transforms down there to Austin, wherever that highway is down there. It's literally right off the highway, and I kid you not, the most ugliest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Any bias or no?
Do what?
Any bias in that comment or no?
Oh, 100%, absolutely. And I will say it again. It's the most ugliest stadium. And I don't like OSU's either, but Texas is, though. It's a little more uglier than our little brother up north. So, take it with which one we leave it with.
We're getting the quarterback from Austin Westlake High School. Is the number one ranked quarterback, 6 overall, according to 24/7, Cade Klubnik. And talk about Bixby High School. Westlake is like that in Texas, too. They're 7A in Texas. I believe it's 6A. They're 6A in Texas. And their closest game was the state championship where they won by 19 points. So,
wow.
Same idea. We're a little excited in Tigertown for old Mr. Klubnik to come. But, but the reason I'm saying that and bringing that up is because he's like 9 miles from Austin.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided not to go to Texas and to come across the country, halfway across the country, and go to Clemson. So more fuel to the fire there.
And see, that goes back to what we were saying about the Texas program. I mean, is it close to being like Nebraska? Probably in some ways you can say that. However, unfortunately, Texas did have that win against Georgia in the SEC championship game. Jesus God Almighty, in the Sugar Bowl, when Sam Ehlinger felt the need to be like a retard and say, "We're back," and of course the whole program falls on their face again as always. But nonetheless, then see, that has to be another. Going back to Texas real quick, that's got to be another thing that the boosters and the alumni has to realize. We can't recruit out of our own state anymore. They're like that kid. I'm sure back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, maybe early 2010 teens. These kids are going to Texas. If not, they're at least in the top 4, I'm sure. But they can't even get the top talent to come to Texas anymore. I just think there's more. I don't know. I think that program's not even from a OU standpoint. I think the program's really not in the good look at all.
No, it's really not. The money's still there. The money's still coming in. They thought with the Longhorn Network they were going to be, the top ranked, and they are still one of the richest programs in college football, but it's not translating. That's for sure.
Real quick on the Twitter DM. How do you know Bigsby's that good? Well, I just pull up the I don't know who you are. You're a spam account. I can guarantee you that. They beat I don't know who this team is down in Arlington, and they won't show up. Mansfield Timberwolves Wolves, wherever they are, somewhere in Mansfield, Texas. Won 69-14. They beat Jinx, who's a powerhouse up here, 23-15. They beat Stillwater 42-14. They won 71-0, 81-6, 70-7, 58-14, 56-14, 66-13, 61-20, 78-7 in the first round of the playoff, 48-6 in the Final Four. In the state championship game, they won 63-14. So to whoever that was, there you go.
That's
Yep, there you go. Next. So,
yeah.
If you want to look it up, if you don't even believe me, then check out Max Preps and search Bigsby High School or Bigsby football schedule, and they'll take care of you. So there you go. But nonetheless, what was I going to go? Oh, thanks to the technology drop, there was something I was going to ask. 2022 Clemson Tigers. Obviously, we're not completely done with the Clemson Tigers 2021 game, and we're talking bowl game really quick as well. What's 22 looking like for you guys back in Clemson?
I think they'll be okay. I think it's going to be back to I won't say undefeated season, but I think they're. I mean, heck, we're Clemson people and outsiders are saying how down a year this was because they had 3 losses. But like I said previous, if they win the bowl game, they have another 10-win season. When I was in school in the late 90s, we carried our coach off the field, Tommy West.
Yep.
Tommy after a 3-8 season, and he beat South Carolina. So I spent three of my 5 years at the Peach Bowl, and it wasn't nearly what the Peach Bowl is now. Playing an SEC team, we went to the Gator Bowl one year, and had 8 wins or something. So to go, I think it's 11 straight years with 10 wins in a row. It's unbelievable. So I think that is going to continue. I hope that having Klubnik on campus is going to light a fire under DJ Uyunglele, the quarterback. The running backs are awesome, and if they can keep all 3 guys, you have Will Shipley, Kobe Pace, and Phil Maffa. They are awesome. The 3 of those guys bring you back to kind of the thunder and lightning of James Davis and C.J. Spiller. I know this isn't a Clemson show, so I'm name dropping like a Mata Hihu, but people may not know who I'm talking about, and that's okay. But yeah, I think they're going to be okay. The defense is going to be just fine. They didn't lose meaningful transfers. I think that's one thing that a lot of people have jumped on is that Clemson had 7 guys in the transfer portal. The quarterback that transferred, Tyson Pumachan, basically said in not so many words that he was going to leave at the end of the year. But he was going to play the season out, and he did, and he was the backup all year. He was fine. They lost a running back, Lynn J. Dixon, who was quite honestly passed on the depth chart. They lost a receiver who couldn't stay healthy. They lost some DBs, just depth guys. So is it going to hurt depth? Yes, but I think they recruited well to the deficiencies. The ACC being a little bit down, admittedly so, helps that. No question, and I've always said it's not Clemson's problem that these other schools aren't recruiting at Clemson's level. So you can dog the conference all you want, but that's not Clemson's problem. I think Pitt's going to be okay. They're coming back when they got Slovis. They signed Keaton Slovis from Southern Cal. So I think the conference is going to help. I think they're going to at least win 10 games next year. Bias fully involved. I think they're going to win the conference and be back fighting for a playoff spot. The talent is too good there to not be. Weird stuff happened this year where,
of course,
and they had a chance. They should have beaten Pitt, and they definitely should have beaten NC State because NC State tried 3 or 4 times to say, no, Clemson, we can't beat you here. You guys beat us. And we're like, no, we're not good enough. You are going to give it right back to you. And really the game they should have lost, they did, and against Georgia in the opener. I think that game tells any stories. That defense is sick, and they were down 18 guys off the 2 deep on both sides of the ball for the majority of the season, including their top defensive tackle, Brian Brzee, who's just an animal. They were playing Will Sweeney, Dabo's kid, who was probably 22nd on the depth chart in wide receivers to start the year, was started against South Carolina at the end of the year.
Wow.
If that tells you how hurt Clemson was. They were down 6 wide receivers. So, and they lost 2 of them. But I don't. I know I just babble, Mike. I'm sorry, but
we got to make up for that lost time.
yeah, but I really don't believe that there's going to be much of a drop off. And I think I have faith in the coordinators, Brandon Streeter, I went to school with, and I think Wesley Goodwin's going to be fine. He said, what did he say? He said, I had a great quote the other day. No biscuit if you don't risk it, or something. No risk it, no biscuit. So I think he's going to keep that up tempo style on defense and just send people from all over the place. And I hope Streeter he was a quarterback at Clemson, and he was an offensive coordinator at Liberty and Richmond, FCS programs that are known to sling it around the field. Yep. So I hope that he can coach up DJ a little bit. I mean, he was a former 5-star. Yeah, Bryce Young was either him or Bryce Young 1 and 2. I don't think we missed on him. I really don't. I think he just read his press clippings or something early this year and just got uncomfortable after the Georgia game. But I think they'll be just fine.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know we're obviously still early before we even talk 22 season, but people realize spring ball is just literally just around the corner. I mean, next Wednesday, of course, Clemson's season finale, OU's season finale, same day. We're following you guys. Hopefully, please beat Iowa State for us. But
no Bryce
Hall, and that's going to be a killer for Iowa State because he was their main wrecking force on the nothing wrong with their Purdy, but the quarterback. But Bryce Hall was the man offensively, so we'll see how that goes for them. But I think Clemson may take care of should at least. I know it's a bowl game. I don't know who's opting in and who's out for Iowa State, but
they have 12 guys in the portal. Again, like Clemson, the numbers could lie. I don't know if any of those guys were impact guys at all. Quite honestly, just not following them throughout the season. They have the opt-out with Hall. We don't have any opt-outs right now, which is kind of amazing to say. But Clemson is one of the youngest teams in the country. They probably have a first-round defensive back in Andrew Booth, maybe a late-end first-round defensive back in Mario Goodrich. Other than that, there's really no one really eligible to go. A couple defensive ends, but not first-rounder guys, and a couple of them might be hurt if I'm being honest. So that kind of speaks volumes about the program and the culture that they don't have opt-outs and they're just going to the what is it called now? Cheez-Its Bowl.
The Cheez-Its.
Which, ironically enough, the year that kind of springboarded Clemson to prominence, they Cole Stout beat a Oklahoma team in that bowl game. In 14, sorry.
Yeah.
Am I getting kicked off?
On that note, we're done. But I definitely
did springboard us. No question.
I agree. No, absolutely. Yeah, jokes aside, and that's what really sprung. Of course, that was that Brent Venables' first year there? I know. That's why I thought because he was really feisty on that sideline that first game because you knew he took it personal.
Oh yeah, and I mean him and Bob hugged it out before the game, and that was I thought we didn't have a chance, and I lived in Tampa at the time, so I just drove over to Orlando and went to the game. Funny thing is, I got on a plane the next day, went to the Rose Bowl, which was awesome. But anyway, for that Oregon Florida State debacle, but he was definitely salty. It was 40-6 or something like that, and he was salty. And you guys had Sterling Shepard. I think Mixon may have still been there. P. Ryan was there.
P. Ryan was there.
There was another receiver you had too. It's Shane Knight. What's his name? Spencer Knight was the quarterback.
Oh, Trevor Knight, who lit up Alabama. Yes.
Yes, he did. I thought we had no chance. Literally, I was at a bar before the game going, there's no chance we win this thing. Right. Especially Deshaun Watson was out, so we were playing Cole Stout. And they won. And it was definitely salty Brent Venables.
Oh, by far.
He knew everything that was coming. I mean, it was my eyes were like this the whole game. Like, he knew that play was coming. It was crazy.
No, it was. I like Clemson, and people even now. I really got nothing against Clemson. I really don't. Now, if you were Texas and Oklahoma State, then we'll be talking different games. But we'll see. But nonetheless, no, I got nothing against Clemson. I remember that game pretty clearly.
Sorry.
Um,
It could have been anybody. We could have been talking Iowa State. I would have said the same thing,
No, that Iowa State, that's going to be interesting. I'm just kind of curious. Iowa State team, really a team that I thought underachieved. A lot of people had them, if not competing with us for the Big 12 championship, even though we weren't in there either. If not winning it, at least competing for it. But nonetheless, that
they were preseason ranked number 9. I mean, when what they had back on offense, I think it's Hutchinson too, as a receiver that they had, and Purdy and Hall. I mean, like, it just looked like, and a decent defense in that conference can do wonders. I know it's not so true anymore, but the old stereotype that they don't play defense in the Big 12. You saw how Oklahoma State had some success this year in that conference just by playing a little bit of defense. Oklahoma kind of blew that out when they threw 37 on them or whatever they did. But yeah, it was surprising. And my co-host Marty Coleman always says that he was low on Iowa State to start the year, big time low. And I even bought an Iowa State shirt because I knew he was going to be low, and so I wore it on the show one week. And I was kind of high on him, to be honest, and I was obviously proven very wrong. 7-5.
Yeah. Yeah, I was on a show, Intercept Your Lunch, and we talked just strictly Big 12, and I had them actually because he asked a question. If it's not Oklahoma winning the Big 12 championship, who is it? I said Iowa State, but
I think everybody was.
Yeah. Real quick, Ryan Watts, the former Ohio State, I believe, wide receiver, has committed to Texas just now. Or transferring to Texas. Let me put it that way. There's a difference from committing to using a transfer. Well, regardless, he's going to Texas. So nice pickup, but I don't know what Watts did with Ohio State this year.
Does anyone get on those 3 guys they have are just unreal. I mean, you look at what Jamison Williams doing at Alabama, and he couldn't get on the field. And that's not saying he wasn't good. Well, it may be saying he wasn't good enough, because those 3 guys that they run out there, Garrison Williams. No, what's his name? It's Williams is one. Jackson and D-Bay Johnson is another, and Chris Olave is the third. Like, those 3 guys are frisbee catching dogs, man. They made C.J. Stroud look awesome all year long. There's no knock on that. So that wide receiver room's full, man. And 2 of those guys are sophomores, so they're not even eligible to go to the NFL. So, like, how are you going to play? I don't blame any wide receiver from Ohio State leaving at all.
Ohio State. I
hate Ohio State on the record. Put it on. Like, hate. It's not a good like at all, and maybe more so than South Carolina. That says it.
What I'm going to do is that this title will be, the episode's title will be Casey Hates Ohio State. That would be what drags these people to listen to this show.
My burner accounts all know it too. Is it Joel Klatt? I think it's Joel Klatt who's on the Big Ten, or he's one of those talking heads. After Clemson beat him the second time in the controversial game with all the penalties, and Ohio State blew a 16-0 lead going in for 23-0. I just called Joel Klatt a crybaby bitch on Twitter over and over again from one of my burners. And that's the first time I've ever been kicked off.
Were you blocked?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was blocked and reported. So I was down for 48 hours.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. And Barrett Sallee, too, was another one that I was salty with him. But
that social media, the social media committees, they were a tough one, man.
They were tough that night. But I was not. I was inebriated and feeling good. And these guys were just complaining about the officials all night. So I had to go at them, with my burner account. It's some anonymous picture of somebody that I don't know. It's great.
Well, I don't see nothing wrong with that. It's not your personal account, so who cares? It's not like my personal Facebook where I got banned for a day, and then like an account, warning account or something. So the next time I say something, really at this point, I can just be banned. So awesome. I'm just waiting for that one moment just to get banned.
It's a badge of honor, I think. I don't know.
Oh, I love it when I see the account warning status and it's orange. Oh, I just love it. I'm like, what person I can piss off today just to get banned? But
I'll go on my personal account behind my burner account, be like, "Hey, you need to be nice," like kind of talking to myself. I haven't done that, but I've seen others.
Go back conversations.
It's like I'm a Gemini, man. I got 2 personalities. It's fine. Isn't that what they say? I don't know. I don't know who they are either, Mike.
I don't either. It's all the haters out there.
This is just water, by the way.
Yeah, same here. I don't want people to think like, it's been a long, short week at work, but nonetheless. Now, as we wrap up the show, real quick, I want to do something a little different. I know I did it yesterday's recording. Unfortunately, sorry, Clyde, if you'll watch. I'm sure you'll listen. But I just sent 16 random messages to usually my consistent people. But the first question, just random questions, so don't feel obligated. You have to answer. The oddest job you ever took to earn a buck?
Cutting down trees.
Nice.
Yeah, it was crazy. It's the summer in college.
I'm not going to ask the next one, but if you ever stole something, what was it? If you could be a personal...
I got a good story on that. Ask that one.
All right. I'll get this so this person can feel rewarded. If did you steal something? If so, what was it?
Ben and Jerry's ice cream. So I lived on this island in Tampa, off of downtown Tampa, called Davis Island, and I think the statute of limitations is over. But we would go. There was a bunch of little bars on the island, so we'd go to the bars and drink for a long time. And we'd always end up there was a 7-Eleven on the island, so we'd always end up at 7-Eleven. And I would buy probably $20 worth of crap food. Like, I'm talking like Doritos. Open it up, put the squirt chili in there. And then I'd have cargo plants on because I was actually popular back in 2005. And I put 2 quarts of Ben and Jerry's in my pocket.
Right.
And I did this probably 2 or 3 times. And I'd paid like $33 for crap food, but still steal the Ben and Jerry's. Well, one night I walked in, and we got to know the clerk. One night we walk in there and I do the same thing. And she stops. She looks at me. She says, "Casey, you can't be stealing the ice cream all the time. You got to pay for it every once in a while." So from that moment on, I paid for it. So they knew I wasn't stealth at 6'3", 260 pounds with bulging, ice cream coming out of my short pockets. Amazingly enough. Great question, caller.
If you could be a personal assistant to anyone, who would it be?
Wow, that's a great question. Wow. I would say Ryan Reynolds.
I like that.
He just seems like a cool dude.
What is I like this one because just the story that him and I have. So kind of feel you when I'm not going to tell his whole detail because I know his story would be a little bit more funny the way he would say it compared to how I would say it. So this question, the reason why he's asking this question is a story behind it. And so the story is this. He practically got fired from 2 jobs at the same time. How this went was he was currently at work at his job. He lives in Minneapolis. At his job, whatever he was doing at the time, he called his current employer. I remind you, he's at work. So he calls his boss saying, "Hey," he says a few words, "I quit." However, the new employer, whoever it was, calls him and says, "Hey, we decided to hold off on your position," and now he's jobless. He's not jobless. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. So this is a question where he kind of was disappointed he did this because of the experience he had. What is the one thing you'd be really disappointed if you never get to experience?
Oh man.
One thing you would be really disappointed if you never get to. Okay, yeah. What is the one thing you would be really disappointed if you never get to experience? I hope I said that right.
I could get real deep on this one, but I'll keep it simple and surface. I have a 4-year-old. I want to make sure I see him, go to college and get married.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But it probably see Alaska or even see Europe. I've traveled.
Oh, I would love to
but
see
I've
Alaska.
never been to Europe, and I have 2 really good friends that live full
Mhm.
time in Alaska now. It's like they're always inviting us up. It's just so hard to get there. But I think that I'd probably be pretty disappointed if I don't get those 2 spots.
I'm definitely with you on the Alaska, just because I see we watch a lot of the Alaska, Alaska videos and all that, but just something about Alaska, I just want to see, just to say you were there.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Alaska because it's so far away from the actual, from the States. It's like, at least, we want to share the love down here.
We love you guys. Can you come
come
closer?
back. Oh, you're attached to Canada. My fault. But anyway, is there something you have always wanted to do that you can now do, that you can do now? Will you start it? Is there something you have always wanted to do that you can do now? And if so, will you start it?
So one thing I always wanted to do was work in sports, and I did do a little bit of that as a student
Nice.
assistant at Clemson. But then I'm in sales and make too much money. I don't make enough money, but I make too much money to get back and start fresh into that. So no, I wouldn't go back and try to be in it because I have a child now and he needs food.
Yep. I totally understand. Trust me.
I love these quick fire questions, man. These are good.
It's something I wanted to kind of do differently, kind of in the show on a interesting thing.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, this is my movie guru here. Which Ghostbuster would you be?
He's gonna stop listening because I don't even know the names. If you can believe that.
I don't either.
Damn it! Can I Google? Can I cheat real quick? Because I can
go
tell you
for it.
what's the Bill Murray one. There's no question, but I just don't know his name.
I would not. I'm. When it comes to movies, dude, I'm horrible.
I am too. I used to
I am
act too,
horrible.
but I don't even watch it. But it would definitely be Dr. Peter. Oh man, I clicked the button, he went away. But Dr. Peter Venk something or other. That's one. Yeah, I'm sticking with that one. I can't even get it anymore. No, I'm frazzled, Mike. I got nothing.
Yeah, when it comes to movies, dude, I'm the last person people want to ask.
Like I could at least fake it for a lot of movies, and I saw the Ghostbusters, the original, but I just don't remember the names.
I know Bill Murray's in it. That's all I could tell you.
Yeah, that's the character and it says like right here on Dr. Peter VENK ... And I click on that and it goes away. So that's the one I want. Dr. Peter Venkman. There you Dr.
go.
Peter Venkman.
Yes.
Whew, that was
Looking to 2022, what are your top 3 goals for the new year?
And I got to drop some LBs. I got to be the best dad to my kid I can be, and and hopefully drop LBs without doing too much because I'm lazy.
Hey,
they make money, right? No, we got to make money. Not money motivated, but I got to make money. We need it. We all need it.
Yeah, more so than ever, unfortunately now.
Yeah.
I like this. This is actually a good conversation one. Does spending New Year's Eve in Times Square sound like a blast or a horrific nightmare?
So I'm going to cheat on this one, Mike, because I grew up and just moved out of the New York City tri-state area, very, very, very close to New York City. I will never step foot in Times Square because it is a horrific nightmare. Getting in and getting out is brutal because living in New Jersey, hop on a train is great. They're available often, but like just packed to the gills. Take COVID out of this mess, but
of course,
it's still a nightmare. You sit on top of people. It's just so horrific nightmare is my answer.
I've never been in New York. I got some buddies, a lot of them, that lives in Long Island. And so, Dan, if you're watching, I represent you pretty well. Long Island and even Kyle. But to me, I've never been to New York. Hopefully, one day, maybe soon, I will at least visit. Anyway, to me, it would just sound like a nightmare. Forget about COVID. I'm not much of a mask guy, but I'll work, whatever. But regardless, COVID, no COVID, it just looks like a nightmare, crammed up with God knows how many millions of people that I don't know.
You can't pee.
And you
I'm a
can't
drinker,
move.
Mike. You can't pee. Where do you
Yeah,
pee?
you can't move. So if you have to pee or vomit or anything else, you might as well just do it right then and then. They probably, honestly, I'm not going to disrespect New York and New York City, but they probably wouldn't care if you did pee on yourself. Truthfully,
Well, let's two answers to this. You got to get to New York City. It's fantastic. It is wonderful. Just everything that's in it. Go during the day. The food is just brilliant. The people are fun to watch. Taking a train around the city, whether you're going to see your buddies on the LIRR in Long Island or whatever, you have to experience New York City one way or the other. Go to the top of the Empire State Building or Rockefeller Center or whatever, Central Park, do all that stuff. Definitely get there, but don't go on New Year's Eve.
I'm definitely not going. Won't be this year.
Yankees, Mets, Knicks, Rangers, go wherever, Islanders are for your boys. Yankee hater, doesn't matter. Go see the Bronx. You gotta, be careful in the Bronx. But you go see the Bronx. Definitely experience New York, but don't go on New Year's Eve.
Unfortunately, I wish the old Yankees team was still around. I think that would have been really, really cool to see. But I'll still take not new now, but I'll take the newer, updated one, I guess.
Yeah, it's nice.
Do you set goals at the beginning of each year?
Yeah, but for me, it's not like personal goals necessarily. It's more work related. But yeah, absolutely. I set goals for myself every day. Not to get again serious, but yeah, I need to hit goals. The only one that I've really never hit is trying to drop some pounds. I have hit it, but then I put it right back on because I love bagels and pizza.
Amen to that one, brother. Amen to that one.
This chin ain't gonna double itself,
Yep. My end, I don't put anything that's unrealistic, but here lately, there's some goals I wanted to achieve and places we want to go. So I think you gotta, at least in that aspect, you gotta kind of have to motivate yourself.
Absolutely.
What's a resolution? Man, there's a lot of New Year Eve ones. God dang it. What's a resolution you really shouldn't make, but you never do?
Man, you stumped the Schwab on this one.
I don't know on that one.
It's a great question. I don't have
absolutely excellent question. I really don't. What's a resolution? I really don't know. Honestly,
it's probably just to eat healthier. That's probably all. I mean, my whole thing's been weight the whole fucking time. But pardon my language. But
you're good.
But yeah, probably eating better and because I try to be a better person every day, like a nicer person, get along with everybody, meet people. Obviously, met you tonight. Here we are, hour and a half later.
Right. Resolution for me, I never make. I probably should, and I never do. Probably eat healthier, like Casey said. Probably spend less time on Twitter.
Yeah, that would be healthier. That's healthier enough. Just getting off that thing.
And then last but not least, as we head into I'm just going to do one, guy. Sorry, there's too many in here. As we head into Christmas on Saturday, hot chocolate, spice cider, or eggnog?
Hot chocolate. All day. I don't like hot except hot chocolate.
I do not at all like eggnog. So I will definitely be glad to and you mentioned bagels. You mentioned bagels. We're just gonna end it. This is my question to you. What's your favorite bagel?
Everything.
Yeah.
The everything bagel is, and quite honestly, second place is plain.
Yes.
A good bagel shop in New Jersey, you can't trip without falling into a bagel shop in New Jersey. There's good bagels everywhere in New York, New Jersey. I miss it being in South Carolina now. There's one bagel shop here. It's a decent bagel. It'd probably be 1,000th on the list in New Jersey, New York. But yeah, the everything bagel, the no toasted. That's my test. Every bagel I go to, I do not toast my bagel. That's how I test to see if your bagels are good. But the everything bagel, man, it's top notch.
Well, I'll end the show on this. If you're ever in Norman, regardless if it's a Clemson, OU, maybe down the road, maybe they'll play a home and away series. That'd be quite cool.
That'd be cool.
Regardless if it's that or you just happen to be in Norman or even Oklahoma City for that matter. In Norman, it's called Einstein Bros. And so our project manager that we have that, our job work is mainly, well, really we're from the regional office, but we have a different branch that's strictly over the OU athletic department and making sure, the events are set up and cleaned and all that stuff. So our project manager is based in Norman. So every time we go down there, really more so for game week, he always treats us to Einstein Bros. And dude,
I know Einstein Bros.
Man,
that was a good bagel in Orlando. Yeah, when I was in Orlando all the time. It's a good bagel.
I have to try. I have to open my variety because I'm really hooked on this pepperoni pizza one. It's just the way they make it. It's really good.
That's the best you're going to get in your area. If somebody tries to I know we're ending, but if you ever see on a sign it says New York style bagels, they're lying to you. New York style pizza, they're lying to you. Stick with the good. What's good for you when it comes to bagels and pizza. And then when you get to New York City, you're gonna be like, what? This is a bagel? Einstein Brothers are awful, but they're not.
And Oklahoma City sucks.
Yeah. I enjoy the Einstein.
No, they're not bad, but not bad.
They're good. Yeah.
Well, Casey, I know it's been a long show, but it was fun.
I appreciate you inviting me. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the laughs. Thank you for doing this. You're welcome on our show anytime, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
As always, I always tell every guest, well, as I told Devin last night, every guest got the special invite, but I want to say it to you because you're cool in my book, is anytime, just shoot. I'll DM you my number, but shoot a text, DM, tweet, I don't care. Say, hey, fat ass, I want on your show. Make it happen. No, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it happen.
To see your show when you have your co-host on here, and you gained a new listener tonight, no question. And good luck to everything. Seriously, thank you.
Hey, same to you. And I'll let her know. I know she's excited. We're hoping sometime next week to kind of sit down, and more so just tweet and figure out when we're gonna get the recording. I know it's not on Wednesdays, which is probably good because that's unfortunately my busier, for the most part, for the exception of holidays. My busier days, so we'll figure it out. But I'll definitely let you know, and it'll be fun.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Mike.
Hey, appreciate you. Merry Christmas, my man.
Merry Christmas,
and enjoy the holidays with your family, and Happy New Year. And I'll be seeing you around soon, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Casey from Sluggo Podcast. Thank you for coming on. Enjoy the show, ladies and gentlemen. What a wonderful guest, and definitely had a good time tonight. That's it for this week. That's the end of the podcast recording. Next week, we are going to hopefully at least get 2 in. If not, definitely 1. More so, just year in review as we spring forward into 2022. But nonetheless, from my family to yours, ladies and gentlemen, have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and we'll see you next week.